Business over drinks. Business over drinks. This is Dave and Terng. This is business over drinks.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Business Over Drinks. My name is Terng and I'm calling in from Singapore.
Hello. My name is David. I'm calling in from Brisbane, Australia. How you going? Happy Easter, everyone. How you doing?
Well, for those who don't know, it is roughly Easter when we're recording this, but when you hear it, it'll be probably like July or August or something like that.
So that'll be
Given how
completely
long it
inappropriate. I'm very sorry.
All right, so we got a really special guest today, and so I want David to do the quick introduction because he's the one who invited Queenie on our podcast. So he always gets to introduce the people he invites. Go on, David.
Yeah, so I'm very excited about today's guest, and I'm glad she said yes to us. So Queenie is a personal finance content creator. She shares money hacks and her journey to building wealth on social media such as YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and also her own podcast. So looking at her profile now, as of today, she has 170,000 TikTok followers. She has 32,000 YouTube subscribers, and she has 38,000 Instagram followers. And once again, I'm feeling very insecure and weak compared to our awesome guest. So thank you so much for coming on our show, Queenie, and I'm sure we'll have a lot to learn from you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me and for inviting me onto your podcast. I'm super excited to chat, and it's lovely to meet you both.
Oh, awesome. Okay, and thanks very much, Queenie, for joining us. I want to welcome you here as well. It's tradition at Business of Drinks to actually kind of share a little bit more about what we're drinking. So, David, why don't you start?
Yeah, so today I'm drinking Fellr. So it's a dry and lime flavor, and it's a
Why? You're drinking a Fellr. That's an occurrence.
I don't know why that's funny. So I'm drinking a Fellr, and it's dry and lime alcohol. It's brewed alcoholic seltzer, and it's not bad. It's not bad. It's an easy to drink beverage, and I'm sure if you drink a few of these, you'll have a good night.
It's an Australian company, so it's quite exciting. I think just trying it out to see what it's like. Queenie, what about you? What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a bit of grape soju with Calpis water, and it's actually really nice. So it's kind of got this like milky like look to it, but it tastes really good. And I just wanted to share a hack because I was in this Asian grocer the other day and I saw the cheapest soju that I've ever seen in my life. And this soju was under $5 a bottle, $4.80. And usually I pay like $13 or like $10 a bottle. So definitely going back to the Asian grocer, and don't skimp on your Asian grocer because maybe you'll find some cheap soju there too.
And how's it taste though compared to the more expensive soju?
You know, I can't really taste the difference because it's mixed, but I'm curious to taste it when it's not mixed because I think that's when you can really tell. But I do rate it. It's quite good.
Oh, before Terng goes into his drink, can you guys share what Calpis is? Because if someone hears the word Calpis, they may think of the wrong thing, especially because your drink is very milky and so forth.
That's so true. Oh my gosh.
As Asians I think only Asians know what Calpis is.
Yeah, it's so true. It's like it's kind of like your Cult. It's kind of like that, but mixed with like a soft drink. So it's like a milky looking soft drink, but it tastes really good and kind of like yogurty. But yeah, it's really nice. I mean, I'm probably describing it terribly. How would you guys describe it?
No, that's absolutely right. It's a milk-based carbonated drink. Other than that,
I'm telling you, it tastes. Just have a try, like guys. It doesn't sound pleasant, but if you try it, it's pretty good.
So yeah, Calpis can actually be alcoholic, or it can even. It's mostly not, but I've drunk alcoholic Calpis as well, and I think mixing it with soju definitely gets you there too. So anyway, on my side, I'm drinking an Asahi Super Dry, which is what I've probably drunk quite a lot on this podcast. It's because I have a lot of it in the fridge, and that's all I have most of the time, other than a bunch of really strong alcohol, which I'm trying to avoid during podcasts because of very bad experiences of saying a lot of really, really stupid things on a recorded podcast and getting published sometimes. So I'm going to try and avoid drinking hard liquor during podcasts as much as possible. All right. I mean, that was probably a longest introduction for alcohol we've ever done because I think Queenie, you're the only person who's ever drunk like like specific Asian alcohol, like Calpis on it. So I think that's really
Yeah.
cool.
Oh,
We're
thank
gonna
you.
struggle. We're gonna struggle to get the links to all of these stuff to share on our
Calpis. There's got to be a link to
on our show
Calpis
notes.
somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure there is, but it's also Calpis mixed with Asian grocery soju, which is under $5. So it's really specific. But we're gonna find it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna learn how to do it.
And by we,
Um,
Terng means our help. Our producer who's
just a
helping us.
producer. We're not gonna do anything, but we're just gonna make other people do it. So that's usually how we do stuff here at Business Over Drinks. I mean, okay, we've got so much to cover, so I don't want to take too much of your time, Queenie. Others, unless you want to kind of you want to stop it around in the next 3 hours. So David, why don't you jump straight into the questions, man?
Yeah, so Queenie, let's start simple. You know, how did you start this whole investment journey, this whole content creator journey?
Ooh, okay. So it started back in March 2020. And I think we all know what we were doing during March 2020. That was when I guess the pandemic really hit in a big way. And I was working like a corporate job. I was on, like a really good salary and I was really happy. But I don't know, I didn't feel like I was where I wanted to be, and I felt stressed and burnt out. And even though I felt like I should have been happy or like I should have been happier, I think that COVID period really made me realize, like, what am I even doing? Like, what is the point? And I felt really grateful because I just started a new job, literally 2 weeks in, and that's when the pandemic hit. And so, of course, in my mind, I was thinking, oh my gosh, the pandemic has just hit. There were rumors that there were going to be layoffs in the company that I just started working for. And I was like, my head's on the chopping block for sure, because I just started 2 weeks ago. And thankfully, I didn't lose my job and it was all fine. But sadly, quite a lot of people at my company did lose their jobs. And the people remaining also, we cut back on hours. So I did like an extra day, like one less day per week, or we got paid for one less day. And I was just thinking to myself, like, wow, I'm so lucky to be in this position. And I'm 24, I'm on like a good income. Even with the extra day less, I was still getting paid more than the other job that I had. And I was like, damn, like, I'm so lucky. I own my own property. And like, even if I lost my job, I would have been fine. And I just felt guilty because there were so many people that lost their jobs and are young too. And I was like, oh, like, I just felt like, yeah, really sorry for people. And I saw the lines in front of Centrelink and people losing their jobs. And I was like, if this was me a few years ago, I don't know what I would have done. And I would have been struggling and I would have been feeling bad about myself if I lost my job. And that's why I wanted to create content. And also in the back of my mind, I was thinking like, oh, not really that happy at this company or like doing what I'm doing. If this turns into something, that'll be amazing. But even if it doesn't, at least I'm like creating content to kind of like help people during this difficult time. So that's how it started.
Oh, that's really
Wow.
cool. I mean, I just want to share one thing. I'm pretty sure David wouldn't have cared if people lost their job and stuff. So I just want to share that with everyone.
I
just want to
definitely
share that. I just want to share that with everyone who's listening. Okay, Queenie, but so you and your partner Pablo both became content creators at roughly the same time, yeah?
Yeah, so I told my boyfriend about this idea to start a YouTube channel and to basically talk about the things that we've learned about personal finance over the years to get us from, having no money, no investments to, having like a decent income, like a good job and investments in a property, etc. And he was like, that's a great idea and I want to help you. And I was not expecting that at all. I just told him my idea and I wasn't expecting him to help at all. I was just like, this is what I'm going to do. And he was like, yeah, I want to help you because I love YouTube videos and I love creating, like, I want to be able to create content or learn how to create content. And that's how it started. So I was the one, I guess, like creating the scripts and recording the videos, and Pablo would be the one editing them at the same time. And it was a good dynamic because I think it suits both of our skills. And I was able to leave my job this time last year, actually, like literally this time last year is when I left my job. And a few months later, Pablo was also able to leave his job too. So now we're doing it full time, which is so cool.
That's awesome. Is there anything that triggered your desire to start creating content? Was there a video you watched? Was there someone who inspired you? Or it was just like one day, I'm going to make a YouTube video? Or has it always been within you, like building up throughout the years?
A bit of both. I did see Brandon. His channel is called New Money, but at the time that I was watching it, it was called Aussie Wealth Creation. So he's this guy from
Yes.
Canberra, and he like creates videos on YouTube, and I
I'll
love
watch him.
watching his videos. Yeah, how good is he? What do you think of Brandon?
I love him. I love his talks about Warren Buffett and so forth. And I noticed that you invited him to your show as well. So that was,
Yeah.
yeah, he's a good guy. Like, he's inspiring too. How far he's come in his journey.
I know, he's so inspiring, and he's such a nice person as well. Like, I actually got to meet him, and I was like, it's so funny. Like, you kind of follow people on social media, and you're like, and then you meet them, and you're like, oh, like you're a person, like you're a real person. Like,
Human
you know
being.
what I mean? It's kind of funny, yeah. Even though like I was a huge fan, it's like it's so funny when you meet people, you realize, yeah, there's a person behind the screen. So yeah.
Terng says that about me when it's like, oh, I can't believe how handsome you are.
No, to be honest, I did say something like that, but I just said you don't look as ugly in person as you do on camera. So that was, I think David was paraphrasing slightly when he said that.
Well, that's good because you don't want to be a catfish.
Yeah, exactly. It's a compliment.
No, he isn't. He isn't. David, in fact, he kind of like undersells himself online. As I often mention with everyone, he doesn't like it when I say this. He's got really thick lips, so it's like really
So my
visible.
online dating profile is I'm very short, like back in my single days. That way you're not underwhelmed when you see me.
You should call yourself a short king. Have you seen that? It's like a big TikTok
Oh, yeah, I
trend.
have.
Short
I have,
king.
Oh, but so actually, that's a really good segue because I used to be really anti TikTok for the longest time until I just downloaded it just to give it a try, see what was going on, kind of understand what the latest platforms are like. And now I'm obsessed. I go down these really, really dark rabbit holes. I
He
share a lot
sends
of
me
stuff
some
with David.
weird ass videos. Like,
Yeah, really.
like
sometimes I
what?
wake up with 20 new videos from Terng. I can't tell you. Not recording anyway.
Yeah, none of us can share what we do. And all of it is like it's on my For You page. So I don't follow anyone. I don't do anything. I just get this fed to me because TikTok's algorithm is actually quite good. So they know
They
all
know,
this really
yeah.
weird stuff
Exactly.
that I like, and I just get fed this stuff. So I mean,
I'm so
what's
curious.
well, after this recording, I'll share something. No, actually, I don't want to. You'll have the worst. You'll have the worst opinion of me in
No,
the
it's not
world.
that. Not as bad as it sounds.
No, actually,
but-
so I've got a question
Okay.
there, right? Because you kind of blew up
Oh,
like
Terng's
quite a
frozen.
lot on TikTok. I think you got like you got a lot of followers, right? Can you just kind of give us a little bit of background on kind of how did you actually blow up on TikTok? Like what do you think was the genesis of your TikTok fame?
Okay, I would say TikTok, the algorithm, it's so good because unlike platforms like Instagram, for example,
Mhm.
it's really hard to blow up on Instagram nowadays
Yeah.
because, you know, with Facebook or Meta, as they're called now, they kind of want to push ads. So if you're not paying for that advertising space, they kind of try to limit the organic reach of organic posts. Whereas
Mhm.
TikTok, like I feel like you don't need to pay for ads in order to get that reach. And that's why there are so many channels that are blowing up on TikTok because, yeah, TikTok just wants that reach and it wants new users and it wants people to have really good content on their platforms. And I think something that really helped me was like, at the beginning, I posted a lot of content. Like I would force myself to create a few videos per week. So usually around 5. Sometimes I got lazy and I did less. And I think from that initial like quantity of like stuff that I was publishing, I really started to understand what kind of videos worked and which ones didn't work. And I think the key is actually to this is really nerdy. Sorry about this, but like it really helps. So initially I was just posting random stuff and I had no idea what I was doing and I was just I'll post a video about this, and oh, this will be cool, maybe I'll do that or whatever. And I wasn't going back and looking what pieces did well, what pieces didn't do well. So I was just kind of like blindly publishing content until one day I was like, actually, I'm going to go back through all my old videos that blew up. And I'm going to look at the analytics and I'm going to start like charting the stuff and see like what kind of piece does well? Why did it do well? You know, was it shareable? Like what did I say in the first 5 seconds? Or like what kind of format was it? I usually do like 2 personas where I'm like talking to myself, like one person talking to another person, and it's just me talking to myself. Yeah, and some other videos it's like a B-roll kind of, and I go into a shop and I do a voiceover. And what I noticed was there was a pattern in the videos that did really well. So one thing for me was like I do a money hack about a very recognizable brand, for example, McDonald's, because everyone goes to McDonald's or they know McDonald's and they're like, stop the scroll because they see the McDonald's logo in the background and they're like, what is she going to tell me about McDonald's? Maybe it's something I don't know. And they watch, and the watch time's longer on the videos that go viral. And those are the ones that kind of work for me. So I just was like, maybe if that's my hypothesis, maybe I'll start creating videos similar to that and see if they also do well. And yeah, I feel like it's just going through the old videos and looking at the analytics. And that's when it really started to change for me, because instead of just creating random content, I was actually creating more data-driven. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I have a couple. Basically, sorry, Dave, one quick point. So basically what you're saying is don't be lazy. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and look at the analytics. Look at the analytics.
Dave, we're going to fail so badly. We're just going to fail really badly, man. I'm just telling you right now, we're going to fail.
You should do it. So are you thinking of starting a TikTok?
We have a TikTok.
Oh, you do? I didn't see it on your website.
Yeah, that's how bad we are.
That's an example of laziness. First example of laziness. We've got to put it on our website. It's a fairly new TikTok, and we're trying to build it up a little bit before we actively promote it, just so we don't look that bad. But a couple questions on that. What do you use? What analytics do you use? Is it a separate tool? Do you use TikTok's analytics tools? And also, how important is going to other accounts and engaging, as well as how important are hashtags? Are all those elements important? Or
I don't think hashtags are really that important, because I don't know about you guys, but have you noticed that videos that show up on your For You page, hardly any of them have hashtags, or at least that's what it's like for me. What do you think? Do you think that, have you noticed that they are showing up?
All the videos on the For You page has like FYP for you.
Oh,
and then,
yeah.
And then you just get like really dark ones, just like really.
And some
really,
Japanese characters, right?
Yeah, and not safe for work stuff. Yeah, David gets a lot. David gets a lot of the Japanese ones, just really specific videos.
No, like there's one comedian I follow, My Daddy Steve. I'm not sure if you know that guy. He has nothing. He has no comments on, like, he has no caption. I don't think he has any hashtags, but he's really popular. So you're right about that. And I have shared some posts with very generic hashtags, just like business or just like comedy. And those have blown up more than the ones where I've had specific niche hashtags compared to Instagram, where it seems to work a bit better.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't think that, like you said, I don't think that you need to have hashtags in order for a video to do well, because the TikTok algorithm is amazing. And I was watching a video. This guy actually analyzed 10,000 videos that showed up on his For You page. This guy had a lot of time, and I'm so glad he did that. And he noticed that there was no correlation between hashtags versus no hashtags on his For You page.
Could they be detrimental then? If you could a hashtag actually detract certain people, or is it just completely irrelevant?
I don't know, to be honest. Maybe if you're really annoying with your hashtags, people will be a bit judgy. They'd be like, nah, trying too hard. Stop with the hashtags. I'm not going to follow you. I don't know, maybe.
All right, I better take note.
Yeah. I think hashtags are used primarily for discovery here in TikTok, at least, like specific niche ones. There's in Singapore, there's one called SG Talk. So it's about Singapore TikToks. and those ones are very specific. So everything is Singapore related. Is yeah.
That's true. If
Dude.
you want to show up in a specific place, might be good to use that. So then when people are using the search feature, that's true.
But it's very biased though, because they'll only show the most popular ones unless you keep scrolling down.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
Though I think with TikTok, you kind of the way it's built is you always are scrolling down. It's never a thing where you just look at a page, static page, and say that's enough. Because TikTok is built perfectly to bring people down that rabbit hole. And it's dangerous. It's really, really, really dangerous.
But it's fun.
It doesn't end. It literally doesn't end. Like I saw this other guy who was doing an experiment, tried to get to the end of the For You page. It doesn't exist. He was scrolling for ages.
I don't think you can. The amount of content that's on TikTok, I don't think you can. It'll start getting less and less relevant. Next thing you know, you'll be like watching, I don't know, like baby videos and stuff at some point.
That's true.
Which never shows up on my For You page.
Maybe every second that you scroll, a billion videos get published. Maybe not a billion, but I don't know.
A lot.
Yeah.
300 videos get posted.
For sure.
So sorry, back to analytics. I think I asked you too many questions, but what kind of analytics tools did you use to look at your posts?
Oh, yeah, that's right. So just in TikTok, they have the analytics section, which you've probably seen. And I just started to put down all of my TikToks into a spreadsheet. And I did the TikTok link, the views, likes, comments, shares, watch time, and the watch time as well, just to see what the correlation is and even things like the like to view ratio. I would do a little column where I would calculate that, and the share to view ratio as well, to see what percentage of people that watch this video share it, or what percentage of people that watch this video like it. And what I noticed is watch time is probably the most important, the percentage viewed. All of the ones that did well for me were over 30%, over 30%. And the videos itself, they were less than 30 seconds long. Anything more than 30 seconds did not really do very well for me. So I keep them very short. And something else I noticed is generally they have a pretty high view to like ratio, because I guess that shows that, people are watching your TikTok and then they're tapping like, and it kind of saves it for later, so then they can watch it again.
I do that.
And so those are just some things. Have you had a look much into the analytics of TikTok?
No, actually, to be honest. I don't know about you, Terng, but I haven't yet. We do that a lot for YouTube, but not TikTok yet. So those are really good ideas. I think that's genius.
Yeah. We definitely need to spend a little bit more effort on TikTok, if only just to stop us from going down these really dark rabbit holes of really terrible content that is on TikTok, and actually do something more productive on the platform.
He's going to think you're some kind of murderer or something.
I know. I'm like, what kind of videos is he watching? Oh my gosh, I'm scared.
Not murderer, pervert. Be very clear about that.
Oh my gosh.
That's more likely on TikTok. Right. So anyway, we're gonna completely pivot from that one. And I would like to strike that from this podcast. I did not say that.
For legal purposes, this is a joke.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. People have heard too much of our podcast. I'm not sure they'll think it's a joke. So apart from being really... sorry, Queenie, I'm just going to jump in the next question, right? So apart from being super, super lazy, what are some of the other stuff that people are getting wrong about TikTok? Other creators and people maybe who haven't grown as fast as you?
Oh, I would just say... I think whenever my videos start to tank and they don't do well, I look back and through my old videos, and I start to map out what I could be doing wrong, or maybe stuff that I could change, and maybe think about what other creators that I admire and what they do in their videos. For example, have you ever noticed the infinite loop on TikTok? When you finish watching a TikTok and then it starts again?
Yeah.
It starts the way that it begins. No, it starts the way that it ends, and it's kind of seamless. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
So the end resembles the beginning as well. So it's a constant loop.
Yeah, exactly. I started doing that because I've noticed my videos didn't do as well anymore. And ever since I started doing that, it's really helped my videos get longer watch time. And watch time is probably the most important metric on TikTok. And I would say just things like that, because like the stuff that I was doing a year ago, it's not the same stuff as what I'm doing now and what works now. So I think that you kind of have to just keep on evolving your content based on what's working. And I think that's where people go wrong. Like they think, I made TikToks last year that did well, so I'm just going to make the same TikToks. And it's like, you've got to try things a little bit differently. It doesn't have to be crazy. Like you don't have to change your whole message or brand or anything, but maybe try the infinite loop, or you see someone do something, maybe give that a go as well, and you might surprise yourself. Yeah,
that's what David and I are gonna do, the TikTok dance. Every trending dance, we're just gonna get online and do it.
No matter
If it
what the
works.
dance is like.
Yeah, if it works, it works. And maybe you could incorporate business tips in there as well. You could be like pointing and dancing.
I don't think I'll ever want to do that, but I know David. I know David's really open to that.
I'm game. I keep telling him we got to dance, man. You and me, just together.
Yeah.
When you
just take off our shirts, just oil up, and just go straight for it. Yeah. It's cool.
During my wedding. But
we're doing that for sure anyway, so it doesn't matter.
So I think it's like how just with businesses, right? When I was co-running a business, we would weekly look at our finances and see what we were doing right and wrong with the business. And it's just like applying the same rules to each channel on social media, I guess. And that's something that I personally aren't doing properly enough. So yeah, there's a really good points. And better start looking at the analytics more. You mentioned earlier that you and Pablo have both been able to resign from your work and become, can I say, full-time content creators? Are those your major? So if you're happy to share it, like how much has each platform helped you earn?
Oh, this is an interesting question because I haven't really started tracking them separately until recently. Now I am tracking them separately. Something interesting, YouTube generally earns the most for me, even though it's the smallest platform. It's like 32,000. The other ones are a lot bigger. But the only thing with YouTube is it just takes so much effort compared to TikTok or Instagram. And I'm sure you guys would know as well, right? Like it's not an easy platform.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's a pain.
Yeah. So from that perspective, I'm thinking like, yes, it earns more, but it takes a lot more time as well. Whereas TikTok, that actually earns maybe just a little bit less than YouTube at the moment, because TikTok currently doesn't have a creator fund in Australia. So in the US, you can actually get paid per view, or like the amount of views that you get in a month, you get paid for those views on TikTok. Yeah. And people don't earn crazy amounts from the creator fund. Like it's a lot less than on YouTube, but at least it's something. And the views on TikTok are just insane when you compare it to YouTube. So even though you earn less per view, it's still quite good. Considering we don't have that, I actually earn like a decent amount from TikTok. And when you look at the effort that goes into making a TikTok compared to a YouTube video, I think from a time point of view, it's definitely there. And I think I'm guessing if I were to calculate like how long do I spend in each platform, YouTube would be the most. I'm not sure if it would have the best ROI, whereas TikTok, I think that I would spend like a very short amount of time and it makes quite a bit of money for the amount of time that I do spend on it. So yeah, and that's mostly through sponsorships, by the way, on TikTok. YouTube, you've got YouTube ads, sponsorships and things like that, and also like affiliate referral kind of platforms as well. So yeah, that's how it's split up. What about you guys? I'm so curious.
Oh, we make barely any money. We're both, well, I can't speak for David, just really poor. So this is like I'm desperate. So no, I'm joking. Not desperate. I always come out sounding really sad on this podcast. I'm not desperate, but it's pervy and sad. We're not making a ton of money. So we monetize the podcast relatively quickly. But for us, because I think we split and we were covering quite a broad range of topics, it kind of didn't help us with the advertising thing as well, because we were it was difficult to kind of segment us into what we could promote. But I think
Yeah.
as we're growing, we're kind of learning from that. We're figuring out where best to do it. So we're looking into affiliates. We're looking into a bunch of different things. But I mean, I'll honestly say I think you're earning way more than we are, which is
In terms of
very,
social
very
media, for
upsetting.
sure. Like,
Yeah,
I think social media is because we spend a lot of time on this podcast.
yeah.
If for anyone thinking of starting a podcast, there's an incredible amount of
Just
work.
don't do it.
You would
Don't do
know.
it.
Yeah, it's like it's Terng and I between us working on it, and we barely have time to do social media. Actually, even though we know it's really important, working on the podcast, editing it, we actually get help with that already, and that still takes a lot of time. Designing the imagery, the thumbnails, making sure everything's good, affiliates, things like that. It's an incredible amount of work. Plus, we have to do social media, so we're still trying to figure it out. And I think you've taught us quite a bit.
So I've got
Yeah, it
I've got a
is a
really
lot of
quick
work.
I've got a really quick follow up to that, Queenie, because interesting enough, I was watching an interview with Mr. Beast where he was talking about his TikTok account. I think he got a combined 2 billion views on his TikTok. He doesn't focus on TikTok at all, but he has a TikTok channel. And he showed the creator payments just for views, so no sponsorship or anything. I think he earned something like $10,000 or $14,000 with 2 billion views.
Oh,
Compared to
wow.
YouTube, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and he makes millions of dollars from YouTube, so he's a different beast completely in that sense. But I think from a creator's perspective, actually making money from views, YouTube is kind of going to be the leader for a while. But I
For
mean,
sure.
TikTok has its place, right? People get the viewership, and then the sponsors come running, right? And then TikTok will figure that out in a bit, but that's how it is. But that actually brings me perfectly into the next question that I wanted to ask you, which was, as a full-time content creator, right? And David just shared this as well. Like, we struggle to find the time. How much time, how many hours or like days do you put in per week, or like a month or whatever, to kind of like to get where you are?
Oh God, I don't even know. I don't really track the time, to be honest. I work like most days, and some days I don't. Some weeks I just don't have like a day off, really. But
Mhm.
in saying that, it's not that I'm like burnt out and I'm overworking myself. I would say that I'm still enjoying my content, and it's just that I don't know. I feel like I just don't have a crazy amount of hobbies, and if I don't have plans with my friends, and if I'm not going to the gym, and I'm like, what am I going to do? I don't really want to feel like watching Netflix, because I watch everything on Netflix that I want to watch. And then when it's done, I'm like, oh, I might as well spend more time thinking about content or social media and things like that. So it is a healthy obsession. I feel like it really just depends week to week, depending on what kind of things I have on. I see my friends quite often, and some days I'll finish work at 3. Some days I'll finish work at like 8 or 9. So it really just depends. But it's nice to be able to. I guess that the lifestyle is what I really enjoy. Like, I was just at Woolworths the other day, and then I saw like a hack, and I was like, oh, I'm here at Woolworths. I'm going to film some content here, and then I can post that on TikTok later. And it's pretty cool that, like, I guess when I go to IKEA, I can film some content there and make a TikTok about it, which I just posted today. So
Yeah, I saw
I
that
feel like,
actually.
yeah, it kind of like incorporates in my everyday life. Like, I was going to IKEA anyway to buy something, and then I saw this thing, and I'm like, oh, we're going to do that. So it's kind of nice. And I'm later doing a round the world trip with my partner. And well, while we're traveling, we're also thinking like, let's make content. So even though, we won't be working at our computers all the time, maybe we'll be at a restaurant or a cafe, or we'll be like, oh, this is how much it costs to live in Greece. And let's video like how much the food costs, or like some travel hacks about traveling around Greece or something like that. So I feel like, yeah, you spend a lot more time working, I guess, but the work, it's more integrated into your life. And I personally find it a lot more enjoyable than what I used to be doing, working in like a corporate company. So yeah.
You don't have to apply for leave or go through those awkward Friday drinks or laugh at the boss's jokes, right? I
Yeah,
think it's
exactly.
the world now is just. I think it's amazing, and it would be amazing even if, like, if you imagine if you're in a third world country and you were making the same amount of money from YouTube and TikTok and so forth. I mean, it can really change your entire life. And I think it was Mark Zuckerberg who was saying something like, we're now in a content creator society. It's going to be less about working for people, more about us being our individual media companies, and uh, yeah, being sole traders sort of, but creating our own content.
Yeah, I
So
completely agree with that, honestly. I follow so many random creators that you would never think you could turn that into a career. I follow this lady and she does like cleaning hacks. And it's just like baking soda and vinegar, and that cleans a dishwasher. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. But, you can turn that into a legit career. Imagine saying to someone, hey, I'm going to make some videos about cleaning hacks. They think you're crazy and like, it's never going to work, but it works. So, yeah.
no, it's great. I mean, cleaning hacks are the most fun thing to watch. But
Yeah.
no, actually, I'm not even joking. I actually do enjoy cleaning hacks, oddly enough. See, I'm not everything I watch is really dark and horrible. Okay, some of them are quite like clean and really good. So oddly enough, right? So on that point about like for example in third world countries and stuff, I was looking at the data around how much YouTube and like Facebook pays. It actually is a sliding scale of payment per view. So in the US, for example, has one of the highest pay
Oh, so it
per
does.
10,000 and
Yeah,
in you
okay.
for YouTube and Facebook. But then, for example, in the Philippines or in like Cambodia or something, the payment per 10,000 or 1,000 is really low.
So they
So
discriminate per country.
it's the purchasing power of the views.
Okay.
I
That's
guess
what
it'd be
that's how
like
they.
what the advertisers, because the advertisers, they choose
Yeah.
what audience they want to target. And maybe they want to
Yeah, okay.
target more like US audience or something. So there's more demand, so the views go
That's
up.
true.
Whereas but then I think also like the world is becoming more global, and I
I
also
mean,
feel like,
yeah. Eventually, it'll standardize. I mean, eventually, one day our podcast is going to be really popular in Cambodia and Myanmar. So, I mean, you don't know that the business over drinks. It will be translated into another language, but we'll see.
Cambodia. I'll
yeah,
have to
that'll
see you
be
speak
awesome.
Cambodian, so just
Oh,
have your voice
Khmer. I think the
dubbed.
language is called Khmer. Khmer, man.
Khmer.
Yeah, Khmer. David's not very worldly. He doesn't know much about his Asian counterparts.
Yeah, because I'm so Cambodian, right? Um, so back to you and Pablo. Growing new podcast. I hinted upon it earlier. What's your approach? Because you have a podcast with Pablo. It's called the Invest with Queenie and Pablo channel, which we'll link to in our show notes. I think you got 2 episodes or 3 episodes so far.
Yeah.
Yep. So, what's your approach to growing it, and what have you learnt so far?
Well, I think it's just such a different platform because I'm like I said, we were talking before the show, but I just think it's so strange how I'm putting content out there and then you don't really get that feedback. And I'm like, tell me, did you like it? Did you not like it? What did you think? Do you have any thoughts? And it's just weird not getting that feedback, and I have to get used to it. But yeah, I really do enjoy it. And like you said, I think it is good for, I guess, your mental health as a creator, because when you are creating content, it is kind of draining and you put your heart and your soul into stuff, and you try your best to be helpful, and you're like creating this content, putting it out there. And, sometimes people can be pretty harsh. So it's nice, with podcasts, you don't get that criticism
It's
or that
just
instant
complete
feedback
silence.
sometimes. Yeah. I think in terms of growing it, I guess I'm just trying to look at, as much data as I can with the views, where they're coming from. On Spotify for podcasters, by the way, did you know that you can see which artists your audience listens to? I found that so interesting. Have you seen that before?
We are the worst at looking at data. I have you looked at it, Terng? Terng's trying to think. I saw his face trying to think of a lie. Like, say yes. No, but
Kendrick Lamar. That's the only thing. That's all I listen to. No, like David's right. We're really shit with podcast data, because actually I think we're both pretty data driven in other stuff. But when it comes to our podcast, we're really terrible at data. If you're gonna ask me like numbers about our podcast and stuff, I'm just gonna lie. Just gonna like throw out like random numbers. It's not because I want to, but I just don't know them.
We
I'm
haven't
just
looked
curious.
at that granular. Yeah.
You should check it out. It's probably not very useful, but it's cool to know a bit more about your audience, what they like.
could be.
You know?
I mean, you could do that. Could teach you some hacks to put on TikTok. I know, like a video about Kendrick Lamar.
Exactly. Yeah, it was so funny. Mine were like Ed Sheeran, Justin Bieber, Drake, Taylor Swift. It was like all the really basic. But also, I love that music as well. Very pop. But yeah, that was funny. I was like, wow.
Oh, you're judging.
No, but I listened to it too.
I'm judging quite a lot, actually. I'm judging quite a lot.
But
I mean, you know that music's good. There's a reason it's popular.
They're actually going to be in our dance song list in our wedding. Justin Bieber. So it's good.
Oh,
it's
so
good stuff.
actually, on an oddly related note, Justin Bieber just announced that he's coming to Singapore for a tour, or as part of his tour.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I am not going, but
he's going to be there.
I'm just going to stand and say, Justin, marry me. Leave her. Just take off my shirt. I start crying because he's not looking at me. Just start crying. Yeah, we're probably going to do that. Queenie, you just got a new follower on Spotify, so I just followed you on Spotify.
Oh, thank you so much. I just love it. What about you guys? Like, what's your how do you try to like get more listeners on your podcast? So, like, what's your strategy?
I'll just abuse our friends, just like constantly just shove it down their throat. So I found out something very interesting quite recently. A lot of my friends and friends of friends listen to our podcast. I found out on accident because, for example, my partner was meeting some of her friends recently, and they asked her, and she was just talking. And some guy randomly mentioned, "Oh yeah, I listened to your boyfriend's podcast last week. It was a really interesting listen." And I'll tell you one thing about my partner. She's like, I don't want to call her not supportive, but she doesn't listen to our podcast that often. So she was just really blank because she forgot that we had a podcast for a bit. So she just stared at him for the longest time, and she was like, "What?" He's like, "Doesn't your partner have a podcast?" She was like, "No." And then she actually had to text me to remember that she had a podcast. By the way, she subscribes, she likes, she does everything. She just doesn't listen. So,
not everyone's a podcast person.
She's not a podcast person. She said she doesn't understand why we want to talk to people. She's also extremely friendly like that.
This is a really basic tip, but actually just telling people you have a podcast in a circle, and it just spreads. Like when I started telling friends about it, they tell their friends. Mm-hmm. That's how we first started. And in terms of growing, there's a shit ton of stuff we do. So we were guests in other podcasts. We do a lot of PR work. Terng does it because that's his specialty. We do ads. We have a mailing list, and it just grows from there. But I think the highest yield one is through our guests. So our guests who share our work really helps our growth.
Nice. Yeah, that's important. And it's good that you're doing a few different things as well, like mailing list. That's good.
Yeah. And I think underutilized platform for podcasts, especially ours because we're in the business segment technically, is LinkedIn. So LinkedIn has been actually pretty interesting in helping us grow our awareness. So, for example, I got a lot of podcast opportunities to jump on podcasts and kind of like promote our own brand through LinkedIn. And we got a lot of listeners, people following our socials actually through LinkedIn. It's the most active platform we have in terms of engagement. So LinkedIn actually has it's not similar, but it and TikTok, both those two platforms are the ones that don't limit access and don't limit discovery because they're not as driven or as restrictive as Facebook and Instagram, for example.
That's a good point. LinkedIn. I've been sleeping on LinkedIn a bit. Haven't used it in such a long time.
Your content would be good with LinkedIn.
Yeah, it'd be very good on LinkedIn, I think, actually.
Interesting.
One thing that reminded me what from what Terng said, and also from data is SEO. So when we first started, we were just guessing what terms people would search when it comes to our podcast. Only recently did we start to make it really data driven. So we'd find out the search volumes of people all over the world or in our target markets for certain terms. So, for example, like which gets searched more, entrepreneur podcast or funny podcast or small business podcast,
Mhm.
and we find out which terms get searched the most, and then create content around it, and we apply that same strategy for every episode. And that's really helped with our
Smart.
numbers recently. I think anyway.
Yeah,
Smart.
we've been
What do
seeing
you use
significant
for it?
growth.
Um,
We use we use Google Keyword Planner.
mhm.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah,
All right. Check that out.
so we use a lot of SEO stuff, SEO specific for platforms as well. So it's quite useful. I mean, oddly enough, I think your existing network and community though would be, I mean, it'd probably help you grow faster than other stuff that
Yeah.
we do.
You have a
It's just that
massive
everything else that we do kind of is more of it's a passive growth thing. So you kind of just do it in the background, and it grows your podcast over a longer period of time. Yours is, I would do the email list though. The email list is really useful. But I think your existing community on TikTok and Facebook and YouTube and all the stuff is going to be really useful in kind of growing your podcast.
which
I,
I'm
I
sure
did
you will.
notice though in our research that you don't have your videos up for the podcast on YouTube yet. Yeah.
Yes, I've got another channel, and we're
Yeah.
just gonna create like thumbnails for it. But but that's a good point. That's actually something that we're looking to do, right?
Yeah, because you have an Invest with Queenie and Pablo YouTube channel. I came
Yeah.
across that. I was gonna go and follow it and like get a few channels to follow it, but then you guys have no content on it, so I wasn't sure whether you guys were actually using it at that point.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's smart. That's actually on the back burner. So I'm going to post the podcast there as well. Because, it's like extra content, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
exactly. It's really useful. I mean, so when I do podcasts with other people and stuff, like when Dave does podcasts with other people as well, we kind of post snippets of that, or like we use that content for our website for our own podcast as well. Because I mean, to be fair, we kind of struggle with creating enough content to kind of engage people. So this is really useful.
Yeah, that's so true. It's so good how you can utilize that, especially on YouTube. I find that YouTube, I listen to a lot of podcasts on YouTube actually. So it helps.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Even on TikTok, you can repost your TikToks to Reels as well.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been doing. And that's just easy because you've already posted it. You might as well use it as a reel. And Instagram's pushing out Reels a lot more lately.
Oh,
Yeah,
are you
interesting.
sorry, this is going to be a bit of a very specific question, but are you getting decent viewership on Reels?
Not crazy, but every so often one of them would do okay, but it's not anywhere near TikTok. And I don't know why. It's the same video. It's like it should be the same audience, but maybe my audience is different on Instagram. I don't know. It's so strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really odd. Yeah, because
And
we
the
were not
algorithms
getting
will be
a ton of.
completely different too, right?
Yeah,
would have
kind of.
its
Yeah.
own.
Yeah, it's
Um,
weird.
Mindful of your time, Queenie. So initially we planned for this podcast to be firstly about social media, and the second about personal finance. So I think I'll just skip to the personal finance part. In your bio on your website, you state that you're on your way to financial freedom. What does that mean for you exactly?
So, financial freedom is being at a place financially where I don't have to work if I don't want to, and I'll have enough passive income to just pay for my lifestyle. And I have been reading a lot of personal finance books, and that's why I initially discovered, this is something I want to do. And actually, my dad retired early to take care of me as like a single stay-at-home dad
Wow.
when I was younger. So I also have that. I guess it's always been important to me, money and finance, and seeing that he was actually able to leave his job and take care of me full time. Like, not that we had a fancy lifestyle or upbringing. Like, I went to a public school. We didn't have like a big budget for holidays and things like that. We didn't really go to the movies, but he didn't work, which was kind of I guess, a bit different. I remember kids would always ask me, so what does your dad do for work, or what do your parents do? And I'm like, oh, he doesn't
Just
do
chilling.
anything. Yeah. So I guess that was my experience. And I was like, oh, it's actually possible. So I know how to do it. So that's been my goal.
Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, in that sense, right? So for me, financial freedom, I once told this up. I went on a date long ago, and somebody once was just asking me about like my future. I think it was like a first date or something, and I said, "Oh, like eventually I want to be financially free." And she was like, "Oh, what does that mean?" I was like, um, "I want to be so rich that if I want to buy a goddamn island, I'll buy a goddamn island." I never heard from her again.
I
I
think
was
you and
joking.
Queenie.
I was really joking at that point, but she
That was
took it
your
really
last date.
seriously, and yeah, I never heard from her ever again. So that was kind of how like that's how I saw financial freedom. And to be honest, I was semi joking because in a weird way, I think as I grew older, my understanding and acceptance of what a acceptable lifestyle for me kept on changing and evolving.
Mm.
So like when I was 20 something, it was like, oh, just having like a nice place to chill, drinks with friends, kind of relaxing, traveling once in a while. Now it's very different, right? World domination, take over everything, be
Yeah.
able to just buy whatever I like. I'm like, I want a Lamborghini, just throw money at people.
Yeah, the
So we'll
Elon
see.
Musk.
We'll
Just,
see.
I want Twitter. I'm just gonna. I
Yeah.
want. I'm gonna take
Exactly.
it over.
I'm like, oh, what's 43 billion? Peanuts. You're gonna sell
Peanuts.
a couple of
Peasants.
NFTs and then we're good.
Ah.
So a lot of it was so. Oh man, I was take us off these random tangents and then it was
Yeah.
really weird at some point. So I want to apologize for that. But so Queenie, I've got a question though, right? So a lot of people kind of they love this space, they love personal finance. It's actually not like I'm not a massive fan of personal finance because I think it's difficult to find people who are authentic and kind of just like want to share good tips. A lot of them, especially in Singapore. So I'm just going to be really specific here because I would say I'm fed more Singapore content. Singapore, there's a ton of people pushing personal finance content here, and most of them are trying to sell you on like their
Of course.
courses and stuff like that, right? While if people who are sharing really good content, there are a lot of them, you can't find them that easily. I mean, I've looked through your stuff. What you and Pablo are doing and what you're doing yourself as well. I mean, it's just legit. You're just sharing tips on things that you've learned as you went along. The moment you start selling courses, then I'll probably comment and stuff. But till then, it's just really good content that I'm enjoying and I'm seeing, right? So like what are some, like in a really long way, like what are some of the good starting tips like for people who kind of want to follow your journey or kind of want to be on a similar journey as you?
Oh, starting tips. I would say just understand the value of money, because I think it's when you start to understand that. I mean, a lot of people say that they don't care about money. You've probably heard it before with your friend. I don't care about money. Money is something I don't need to know about. It doesn't matter to me. Yet they will spend 40 hours per week working a job that they hate in order to earn money. So we all kind of are working for money, and we're spending our life that we'll never get back to earn money. So I think it's important for everybody to kind of know a bit about money and where it's going and how to make the most of it. So I guess the first thing that I would say is like understand the value of your money and your time, because once you understand that money, it's a bit abstract and you think, oh, whatever, it's just money. I have it. And then one day I don't have it because I spent it on some stuff. Like that's what I think a lot of us used to think. But now my mindset's changed and I'm like, when I have money, I'm like, this is literally 4 hours that I've spent making a TikTok video, or like this money is actually, I don't know, 2 hours work at McDonald's or something like that. When you start to look at it as your time that you'll never get back, it changes for you. And not that you want to get like so deep and like don't want to spend money on anything. But just to know that you wouldn't want, like when you know that it's actually your life that you're spending, you don't really want to waste it. And that's when you start to get, I guess, more passionate about it and learn a little bit more about it. I would say that some good places to start would be, find ways to maximize your money. So whether that be finding ways to save a bit more money, learn about investing for the future so that you could grow your money, and also just, I guess, weigh up the risk and reward potential of money. Something really interesting I heard the other day was have you heard about the concept of loss aversion? Have you guys heard about that?
Is that
No,
where
I
you would rather not lose anything? So you think
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Yeah, I think it basically what you said. So people generally would rather not win than lose, if that makes sense. Even when the odds are stacked in your favor and like you have a lot bigger chance of winning. So I think that a lot of our brains are already wired that way. So it's important to just, I guess, start to learn about money because a lot of us have different ideas about money that we might be programmed with that maybe need to be reviewed. Like for me, for example, I was lucky my dad raised me well when it comes to money, but there are some things that I don't use anymore, or I think he was a little bit too extreme with money on one hand. So I think reviewing those programmed like ideas that you had in your head about money and seeing if they're helping you anymore or if they're serving you. And if not, maybe you need to rewrite them and relearn them and start to like move forward. I hope that makes sense. I'm sorry it's a bit roundabout way. What about you guys? Are you how do you think about money and what's your concept of it?
yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I had more money. And I think so. I had a very old school like Chinese upbringing, so money was really important. Like money was like the most important thing. If you had money, you were technically happy until you were upset that you didn't have more money. So that was kind of the upbringing that
Which is
we
pretty
had.
much everyone's belief, right?
Well, no. So oddly enough, right? So I think Queenie, what you were mentioning was like people have some people maybe lose the or like don't value money significantly, right? So because, but for you, you see it as money, as being your time, as being your effort, as being things that you put into it. Yeah, I think oddly enough, that's a little bit closer, but maybe on the different side of a spectrum of how the old school Asian people look at money, which was money has in itself an intrinsic value beyond its purchasing power. It is everything from safety, from your reassurance factor and everything else. And so it's become this really interesting concept, and that's kind of how I saw money a lot of the time, which is why I was only semi joking about being when I was thinking about financial freedom was about being able to get whatever I wanted, because I think I wanted to escape that mentality of money controlling everything that you did. So I didn't want to devalue money, but I wanted to take it away from controlling things that I did.
Mm.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm doing now, I think, as well. Maybe I had similar upbringings with money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Asian. So
Yeah.
I think it's just Asian.
And then did both your parents kind of attach jobs to that value of money? So if you have a good job, then you have valuable money and you have a valuable life.
Yeah,
Or
I think that my parents had a very old school way of seeing work and money, like it.
Mm.
I don't really my parents divorced when I was really young, so I guess I'm closer to my dad because he had custody and I see him more, but he just wanted me to go to uni and to get a really good job and to earn money in a job because that's what he did. He was an
Mhm.
engineer and he
Mm.
saved money, but being a content creator, dropping out of university, like all of these things, it's stuff that
That's a
he
weird.
doesn't understand. He's like, why would you drop out of law? You work so hard to get in there. Why did you do that?
Yeah.
And what are you doing on Tik? He doesn't understand, but
Yeah.
he's still supportive, which is nice. But I feel like even the way that our parents used to see careers, I feel like it's so different now. Like you said, like
Mm.
content creators, that's kind of an industry that's really growing. And I think that a lot of people are sleeping on it. Like they think that you can't make a career out of it or you need to have millions and millions of followers to make $10 from it. But it's not actually true. And if you find the right way to monetize it, maybe the right audience or the right
Mhm.
monetization, I don't know. Yeah. What about you guys? What did your parents think about careers and money?
I've actually got a very specific question for Dave. Dave, how disappointed are your parents that you kind of like went into your current field of being an author and
Yeah.
stuff like that?
I still have to prove, but I mean, yeah, job like it's been a huge issue actually. Like going to uni and then getting a job has always been something. I grew up thinking that's what I needed to do to be successful. But then I realized it's extremely limiting. So let's say you work for $20 an hour. You got to ask yourself, well, how much is that? How much is my hour of my life actually worth? Is it worth $20 an hour, or is it worth more? Obviously, you need to start somewhere and start humbly. But then you got to think of ways to multiply that hourly rate, and you can't do that in a traditional job. Not every job. I mean, there could be if you're a CEO or something, but you need more control of whatever you're making. I think anyway. And you can't do that in a traditional path. But you could, but you have to be a bit more creative rather than just stay in a job. You have to think about investing. You have to think about maybe buying a piece of the company or starting side hustles and so forth like that. But which brings me to another question. So you and Pablo have got this journey. You've got this great podcast. Do you have any investment tips as a couple, like for couples out there? Yeah, what have you learned?
I think the most important thing is to talk about it with your partner, talk about money, talk about investing and finance, because I think that it's just so valuable. And we did an episode about couples and money and finances. And it's so interesting, like the amount of, we saw a lot of stories on Reddit just about different situations, like say, for example, one person makes a lot of money, one person doesn't make a lot of money, and they split their finances 50-50. And one person was upset that, their partner gets to spend a lot of money and they don't have a big disposable income. But there was no communication there, and I feel like a lot of the issues, it kept on recurring. Like there was another couple, this partner was earning a lot more than the other partner, and they were just uncomfortable with the situation. They kind of wanted their partner to maybe they were pursuing a career that they loved, but also they kind of wanted them to contribute a little bit more to the finances in that way. And I just feel like all of these situations, it's so like they love each other and like they have a great relationship, but money is just, it's just such an uncomfortable topic to bring up with people, that people would rather talk about what they want to do in the bedrooms rather than how happy they are with the finances in the relationship, which I think is sad. So I think talking about it really, really helps. And one thing that has helped Pablo and I is that during our relationship, we have been quite open about money. And when we first met, he was earning more money than me. And then during our relationship, there were times I was earning more money than him. And it just kind of worked because we were very open about, how we wanted to share our finances moving forward, like as our incomes changed over the years. And I think that's what you kind of have to do instead of just sitting there and being not happy. Because one of the biggest reasons for relationship breakdowns is finances. Money, right? Yeah. Did you guys know that?
It's one of the number one reasons. Oh, yeah. I think it is. Is it the number one reason for divorce?
Yeah, it is. It's insane. And I think it is just because people are, a bit awkward. Yeah, about it.
I had a really horrible thing to say about Dave, and I'm gonna keep real quiet because I think he's gonna be really angry.
Say it afterwards.
He's gonna be really angry if I say it during the podcast. But that's kind of the thing. Like that's why Dave and I work as like business partners and like on the podcast as well, because we always talk about money. It's usually like a really sad conversation about money, but we talk about it very openly.
Can I borrow some money, man? Come on, bro.
Like, look at my bank account. It's negative. And he's just like really sad.
Yeah, our partners actually technically like the salaries are higher than ours, right? I don't know about you now, that's Terng, but yeah.
Oh no, still the same. Which is I'm very proud. I'm very proud of her, and she pays for everything, so it's cool. I'm like, thank you. Thank you, mistress.
It's so normal, isn't it? Like, I think that a big misconception is that I think it's it has to be this men versus females, and I just don't see it like that. If Pablo earns more than me, I'm happy for him. If I earn more than Pablo, he's happy for me, and it's because we're a team and it's not that competition. You know what I mean? Do you find that as well?
I mean, I strongly believe in that. I'm not sure about the other side. I strongly believe that it's a partnership, and if I want to be the little spoon, I can be the little spoon as long as I like.
But Terng likes being the little spoon.
Who doesn't, man? It's the best part.
Yeah, I do sometimes.
No, but I think it's so for me. It's very interesting because I don't see a problem with relationship dynamics if the woman or the guy makes more money. It doesn't matter because it's irrelevant at some point. Because if it's such a, unless for example it's like four times the amount the other person makes, then yeah, there's going to be some imbalance in that. But if it's just a little bit more than here, like 10%, 15%, which is usually the case, I mean, what's the big deal? It's not like you guys are not like anyone's making enough money to change the world. I mean, that's my point of view. If my partner starts to start like earning multiples of what I'm earning, I'm just gonna be really sad. I think that's when the male ego will come out. It's really aggressive. I'm like, it's your fault that I'm like this. I'll just start blaming people. Or I don't know. We'll see. Maybe not. Maybe not. I'm just
I
gonna put it on
hope
podcast. Maybe not.
that.
You're just
Maybe
really
not.
scared, Queenie.
But then you can be the real. But then you can be, the house husband.
Hmm.
Be a nice lifestyle. Go to the gym
Yeah, no,
whenever you want.
I really wouldn't mind that. I actually wouldn't mind that because I think intrinsically, I think we all just kind of want to be, not all, but most of us kind of want to be like house, like just basically stay in the house, do whatever
I've
you
always
want.
wanted that encounter where my partner's working late. She comes home late, and then I'm just waiting there dramatically with a dish of like lasagna, and I'll tell her I was waiting. I cooked for you, and then I'll just dramatically throw it against the wall.
Like in the movies?
Yeah.
Like, why are you at
Well,
work so
casserole.
much? And got like an
you,
apron. You're like, how
dude,
dare
you gotta put some eyeliner and then just like a little
Oh, yeah,
tear
like
comes
the
down.
tear.
It streaks in your face, and you just run away. You just run out of the room, saying, "I can't," like not again, and just like run out of the room.
Sorry, we're sidetracking you. I don't want to take more of your time, Queenie, but I don't. It's all Terng. I blame Terng. But in your latest video, you talk about your $500,000 plus net worth, right? Can you tell us more about the value of calculating net worth and how people can go about it?
Yeah, of course. So soon I'll have a net worth calculator, but it's being developed. But at the moment, so what you do is you add up your assets and then you subtract your liabilities. So assets are things like the value of your home, your share portfolio, superannuation or retirement savings, crypto portfolios, and any other assets that you have, for example, like bonds or gold or silver and things like that. And then you subtract your liabilities, which should be things like your home loan, your credit cards, maybe personal debt that you have or personal loans, car loans, etc. And so when you have the value of your assets minus your liabilities, that is your net worth. Oh, and student debt, I forgot to include like in the liabilities. So the net worth is your assets minus your liabilities. And yeah, it's pretty interesting because once you do that exercise, it's just interesting to see like how much you would actually have left over if you sold all of your assets. And I think it's important not to judge yourself or like to stress out if you have a negative net worth or if it's not where you want it to be, because it can improve. It can improve with time. And I think the longer that you start working towards your net worth goals and working on your personal finances, the easier it gets. Because it's like Charlie Munger says, the first 100K is always the hardest. And then after that, it gets a lot easier. So, yeah, have you guys calculated your net worth? Is that something that you like to do?
So my net worth's about 8. No, I'm joking. I have no idea what it is. I really haven't calculated it because I think most of my value is actually placed within my company.
That's
my
true,
personal
yeah.
assets. My personal assets are.
So you'd have to value your company.
My personal assets are low. I'll say that.
So let's say your company generates, let's say, $1 million a year. Is that the net? Is that what you would class? Is that a $1 million asset then? Or it just depends on your accounting?
I guess, yeah, it would be the value of your company minus any debts that the company has, I guess. But I'm not sure. How do you guys do your company valuations? That would be interesting.
So valuations differ per industry. So, for example, in my industry, a traditional agency is usually valued about 2 to 3 times revenue, and that's minusing all if they have any debt or anything. But I think more traditional new age businesses, the value could be anywhere from like 4 to 5 times revenue. It has to be annual recurring, and also plus the assets that are owned by companies. So
Mm.
some companies own land, etc. So usually add those on because
as well
they're
as
not appreciating depreciating assets.
do you put the value of staff as well? Like, let's say you have a really
Specialized technical stuff, it can be because
mm,
acquisitions happen specifically for hiring. So they
yeah.
buy out companies to buy over teams, but it's usually technical teams.
Mm.
So it's very, very specific. Valuing companies is difficult, which is why I can't be bothered doing it. Also, I'm not looking to
Mm.
sell. So one day, when Dave makes enough
Interesting.
money, he'll just buy it off me.
Yeah, so yeah,
Maybe
10 bucks.
even outstanding invoices as well. That's another one.
Mm, okay.
I think so. I think that would be revenue that would
As well
potentially
as
generate.
IP, like if you have if you develop any
Mm.
Well,
special
if we have
technology.
yes, if we have IP, yeah, for sure. If you
Mm.
have patents, that's really important.
So
Okay. Yeah, sorry, Dave. You want to say something?
so just to add on to that net worth. So what will you do? Let's say you've worked out your net worth. What do you do with that information? Is it just like to inspire you to increase it, like see where you are? Is it mainly just as a reference point?
Yeah, I see it as more like like you said, like a reference point. And it's not that I'm super obsessed with it and I'm not going to go out for dinner because I want to increase my net worth and have as much money as possible. Mwahaha. Like it's not like that.
Yeah,
It's
it's
more
like me.
just so that it's just so that I can track my progress. For example, this time last year, um, and my net worth, it's combined with Pablo. Our net worth was just under 400,000, and now it's over 500,000, like
Well done.
517,000, which I'm like, wow, that's crazy. It took
Yep.
3 years to save our first 100K. And that's insane
Mm,
that it increased by over 100K in 1 year. And I think it just really shows the power of investing. And it also helps me not freak out when the stock market drops or, the property market is cooling off as well, because I can see that some months it does go down because the stock market's down or the crypto market's down, but it does eventually recover. So it's nice to see those ups and downs as well, because it's not always going to be a vertical line that's just straight going
yep.
to the moon,
Yeah, looking forward to that calculator then. It'll help it make it easier. Or at least you have a look
Yeah.
at mine. Hmm.
Yeah, you should. It's so motivating. So, yeah, that's interesting. But you'll have to value the business, which is tricky. Very
Yeah.
tricky.
I mean, we'll see. I'll that one is a bit tricky on my side, I think. So Queenie, I think actually we've gone over time, so I really want to get out a couple of really quick questions before we let you go. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about your podcast, so the Invest with Queenie and Pablo podcast? Like, can you tell us a little bit more about that and how it would help people?
Oh, thank you. So at the moment we've just started it and we have 3 episodes, and I guess we're just learning as we go, and it's a new medium for us, so we're not sure where it will take us. At the moment, we are covering, I think the format that we really like doing is storytelling, because I've noticed a lot of podcasts that I listen to, they have stories, like whether that be like horror stories or like murder mystery stories, and you want to find out what happens at the end. So I've tried to incorporate stories into our podcast. So we'll read out first home buyer stories or stories from couples or stories about I guess, friends and money and things like that, because I think it's just interesting and it's kind of relatable to hear about what other people are going through when it comes to money. And we just discuss it and offer like tips about the situations. So, yeah, that's the kind of format.
So we'll be linking to that in our show notes. But if you want to look now, it's called the Invest with Queenie and Pablo podcast. And it's in every podcast player pretty much, right?
Yeah,
Spotify,
yeah, it
Apple. Yep.
is.
Yep.
It should be on YouTube as well, so hopefully that'll come up soon, Queenie. I'm looking
Yeah.
at you for especially for that
Yes.
one.
Yes,
He's
it will.
tongue's pressing you. Uh,
it's what I do.
so you a lot of your journey started off with learning. So are there like 3 favorite books that have impacted your life positively? Because we love to share
Oh,
books on our
yes.
podcast.
Atomic Habits. I know it's probably very highly recommended and you've probably heard of it before. That's one of my favorite books. Another really good one is Your Money or Your Life. This one is really good if you're interested in the FIRE movement and the calculating your net worth and just helping you get into the mindset of, I guess, financial freedom and learn about it. And another one that I really like, Rich Dad Poor Dad, is a classic. And Die with Zero was one that I read recently, and I thought it was quite good. It challenged a lot of my thinking about money, but in a good way, because I think it's always important to get different perspectives about what you're doing, because nobody's right about everything, and I think the more perspectives we can get, the better our life will be. So those
Sorry,
are some of my favorites.
did you say Die with Zero?
Yeah, Die with Zero.
Oh, nice. Okay, very cool.
I've
Yeah.
listened to
Okay,
it.
well,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna have a look at that one actually.
Yeah.
So Queenie, why don't you tell people how they can find out more about you? How can they? Maybe they want to get in touch. Maybe they want to follow your content. How would they do that?
So you can follow my content on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and also now on Spotify as well, or any podcast player. And just that's where I post a lot of my content, usually every single week. So you'll be seeing a lot from me if you want to.
So just
So
search.
they should search for Invest with
Yes.
Queenie. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
So Invest with Queenie on all the platforms, and then on all the podcast platforms. Invest with Queenie and Pablo.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a new
Thank
podcast
you,
coming out.
guys.
And if you forgot, go to businessoverdrinks.com and just check out our links there.
Yeah, we'll put the show notes up, and then we'll have links to everything that Queenie does. And then in return, Queenie will give us millions of dollars one day.
So we'll be sending you our bank details, Queenie, after this.
Yeah. You're laughing, Queenie, but it's coming.
She's like, no response.
Bye. See ya.
This is where the dark side of TikTok comes into play. No, I'm joking, Queenie. Thank you so much. This was a really, really interesting podcast. I think I always like it when people who come in like with different perspectives and viewpoints, but also kind of share our ethos of being as authentic as possible. So even if it's just like a really random thing, just be honest and authentic. So that's kind of cool for it.
And I think the biggest thing I learned is just be really data driven with our social media content. I think we need to do that more often, especially with business over drinks. I love that tip. Hopefully we'll see some growth.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm so excited. Keep me posted. If you find any good tips, let me know.
Awesome.
Yeah, for sure. We'll definitely share. Queenie, thank you so much. And always, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for following us. And look out for Business Over Drinks on all major podcast platforms and on social media as well. We recently, as we mentioned, we have a TikTok and we're on Twitter as well now.
So thank everyone. Thank everyone. I'm stumbling on my words.
We're going to redo this entire podcast because David fumbled the end.